All right, let's dive into this one. Cormac McCarthy, Blood Meridian.
Mm.
Um, do we call it a Western? I don't know.
Yeah, it's set in the American West,
Yeah, well,
1850s, but it's definitely not your typical, cowboys and Indians story.
no, not at all.
Hmm.
This is, well, it's brutal. It's about violence, the dark side of human nature, all that.
Yeah, and to really get it, I think we need to go, chapter by chapter.
Okay, yeah, let's do that. So it starts with this kid.
A kid, yeah, he's 14, runs away from home, and he's already got a taste for violence.
And McCarthy doesn't even give him a name.
Nope, just the kid. Makes him, almost like a symbol, like anyone could be this kid.
Right, right. So what happens? Where does he go?
Well, he kind of drifts through this really brutal landscape, the frontier, and it's just one violent thing after another.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, early on, he gets caught up with this filibuster expedition going into Mexico. It ends in a massacre. The Comanches attack.
Oof. Okay, so right from the start, McCarthy's not pulling any punches.
No, not at all. And the descriptions, the way he writes about it, it's it's vivid and disturbing, really gets to you.
Yeah, I can imagine. So the kid witnesses this massacre. What kind of impact does that have on him?
It's hard to say, He's so young, but he sees some pretty horrific things. Like, he sees the expedition leader's head, Captain White, severed, preserved in a jar.
Wow, that's an image.
Yeah, and I think it says a lot about the world McCarthy's creating, this casual brutality.
Yeah, okay. So where does the kid go from there?
He ends up in prison in Chihuahua in Mexico, but then he gets recruited into this gang, the Glanton gang.
And Glanton gang. And they
Well,
are
scalp hunters.
scalp hunters.
Yeah. Basically, they were hired to kill Native Americans and bring back their scalps as proof, often for a bounty.
That's grim.
Yeah, and the Glanton gang, they were notorious. They weren't just doing it for the money. It was more than that.
More like bloodlust.
Yeah, exactly. Just pure, enjoyment of the violence.
Okay, so we've got this kid. He's already seen some stuff, and now he's thrown in with these scalp hunters. Who are some of the other guys in this gang?
Well, there's Toadvine, a guy the kid actually met earlier back in Texas. And there's David Brown. They call him the Black Jackson. Huge guy, always angry. And then there's this cold-blooded killer. They call him the Delgadito, which means the skinny one. Kind of ironic.
Right, right. So a real cast of characters, but there's one that everyone always talks about, right?
The judge.
Judge Holden.
Yeah, Judge Holden. He's he's a force of nature. Physically, he's huge. And he's incredibly smart. But he's also just totally amoral. No sense of right and wrong.
Yeah, we talked about this a little before. Like, what makes him so disturbing?
Well, he sees violence as natural, the way things are supposed to be. The ultimate expression of will. He doesn't believe in morality or restraint.
Whoa.
Yeah. He thinks war is the defining force in human history. And the people who embrace it, those are the ones who really rule the world.
Man, that's bleak.
Yeah. And the kid, he's surrounded by these people, immersed in this world of constant bloodshed.
So this is about the kid's his moral journey, right? Like descending into this heart of darkness.
Yeah, that's part of it. But it's also about McCarthy's vision of the West, He's not romanticizing anything. He's showing the brutality, the savagery that was really there.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely coming through. So is there any hope in this story? Any chance for redemption?
That's the big question. Can the kid, even surrounded by all this depravity, can he hold on to some part of himself? Or is he going to get swallowed up by the violence?
Man, that's a good question. And we'll keep digging into that. We're just getting started with Blood Meridian.
Okay, so the Glanton gang, they just keep getting worse. More and more violent.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking scalp hunters here. It's hard to imagine how it gets more brutal.
Well, it does. They start killing pretty much anyone, not just Native Americans, Mexicans, anyone who gets in their way.
So completely indiscriminate.
Yeah, pretty much. It's they're just addicted to the killing at this point.
And McCarthy doesn't shy away from showing that, right? He really gets into the details.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's intense, but it's also it makes you think. It's not gratuitous.
Right. Okay, so I mean, they can't just keep doing this forever, right? There's got to be some kind of consequence.
Well, yeah, eventually. The governor of Chihuahua, he puts a bounty on their heads, so they have to flee across the border into Sonora.
So they're on the run. You'd think maybe they'd try to lay low.
Nope. They actually cut a deal with the government in Sonora to keep hunting Apaches.
Wow. So even the authorities are in on the violence.
Yeah, it shows you how deeply rooted this stuff is. Like, it's just part of the system.
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay, so they're in Sonora still killing. What happens next?
Well, eventually, even the Sonorans, they had enough. The army turns on the gang. There's this big battle.
Led by General Elias? Right, General Elias. So the gang is caught between the Apaches they're hunting and the army that hired them.
Yeah, and it's a complete bloodbath. Some of the gang get killed, some are wounded. And this is where we see, like, a little something different from the kid.
Different how?
Well, he's ordered to finish off one of the gang members, Dick Shelby, but he doesn't do it. He lets him live.
It's interesting, like a moment of mercy.
Yeah, exactly. And in this world, that's, like, a huge deal.
So is this a turning point for the kid? Is he starting to question what he's a part of?
It's hard to say for sure. McCarthy doesn't, like, spell it out, but it definitely suggests that there's something in him that's resisting the judge's influence.
Right. And how does the judge react to this?
Well, there's no, like, direct confrontation or anything, but you can feel the tension building between them.
Yeah, I bet. So what happens to the gang after this battle?
Well, they're pretty messed up, but they manage to escape. They end up in Arizona, and their reputation follows them, you know?
Yeah, I can imagine.
Like in Tucson, the Black Jackson, he just, like, casually murders this restaurant owner.
Jeez.
Yeah. But the judge, he's so manipulative, he actually gets Jackson off the hook. And they even manage to get a new job escorting these two brothers to California.
Escorting, that sounds almost civilized.
Oh, it's not. They end up at the Colorado River.
Yeah.
And that's where they run into Dr. Lincoln. He runs a ferry there.
Dr. Lincoln.
Yeah. And the judge, well, he sees an opportunity, you know, to stir up trouble.
I bet he does. What does he do?
He gives this whole speech to the gang about, like, war being the ultimate trade, the driving force of history, all that. And then he convinces Glanton to take over the ferry.
Oh, man, here we go.
Yeah, and he promises a share of the profits to these Yuma Indians to help them attack.
So classic divide and conquer. But I'm guessing the judge is just using them.
Oh, yeah, totally. They attack the ferry, and then the gang just turns on the Yumas, massacres them.
Man, that's cold.
Yeah. And, of course, it backfires. The Yumas regroup and attack the gang.
Revenge.
Yeah. And it's a bad scene. Glanton gets killed. The Black Jackson, too. A lot of the gang is wiped out.
So that's the end of the Glanton gang, right?
Well, not quite. Some of them manage to escape. The kid, Tobin, Toadvine, and, of course, the judge. They're all pretty messed up, though.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So what happens to the survivors?
They end up at this desert well, and that's where things get really tense between the kid and the judge.
Oh, how so?
The judge tries to buy the kid's pistol.
His pistol. Why?
I think it's about control, you know, but also I think the judge is starting to see the kid as a threat.
Because he showed mercy to Shelby.
Yeah, I think so. It's like the kid is starting to think for himself, and the judge doesn't like that.
Right. So what happens? Does the kid sell him the gun?
Nope. He refuses. And Tobin is like, dude, you got to kill the judge. He's going to destroy us all. But the kid, he can't do it.
Wow, so much tension. What happens then?
The kid and Tobin, they take off. But the judge, he follows them with the idiot in tow. It's like a cat and mouse chase through the desert.
Man, that sounds intense. So do they get away?
Eventually, yeah. They make it to San Diego. Tobin gets some medical help. But the kid, because of his past, he ends up in jail.
Back in jail.
Yeah. But even there, he can't escape the judge.
Oh, no. What happens?
The judge visits him in his cell, and it's a creepy scene. He talks about how he could have loved the kid like a son, but that the kid's mercy ruined everything.
Man, that's messed up.
Yeah. So the kid, he does something desperate. He tells the authorities where the gang hid their gold.
He betrays them.
Yeah. It's like he's trying to break free from the past, from the judge.
Does it work?
They let him out of jail. He gets some medical help. And then the story jumps ahead.
Yeah.
To 1878. The kid, he's a man now. He's in this saloon in Fort Griffin, Texas.
So he's built a new life, away from all the violence.
You'd think so, right?
Yeah.
But guess who's waiting for him in the saloon? Oh, come on, the judge.
Yep. The judge.
He never goes away.
Nope. He tells the man that they're the last ones left from the gang. And he starts going on about fate and, his whole philosophy.
It's like nothing's changed. He's still obsessed with violence.
Yeah. But this time the man, he stands up to him. He says, I ain't with you. And he walks away.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like he's finally breaking free rejecting the
That's
judge.
got to be it, right? Like, that's the turning point. He escapes the cycle.
It would be a nice ending, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But Blood Meridian doesn't work that way. Later that night, the man goes to the outhouse, and the judge is there.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And McCarthy, he doesn't like describe what happens, but it's clear. The judge, he takes the man into his embrace.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. It's like the man is completely swallowed up by the judge's darkness.
So that's it. He dies in an outhouse.
Yeah. After all that, after everything he went through, it's a pretty bleak ending.
Yeah, it is. And it really emphasizes, like, McCarthy's view of human nature, like this violence. It's inescapable.
Right, right. But there's still more to the story, isn't there? The epilogue.
Oh yeah, we can't forget about that. That epilogue, though, it really sticks with you.
Yeah, it's like, even though the gang is, they're all dead, it doesn't feel like the story's over.
Exactly. It's like McCarthy saying this isn't just about one gang, There's something bigger going on.
Yeah, and that's where the image of the judge at the end, it's just, like, so powerful.
Dancing, fiddling, talking about how he'll never die. It's like, yeah, he's saying this darkness, this violence, it's not going away.
It's woven into us, like part of being human.
Right, and the judge, he's like the embodiment of that. He's not just a man, he's something more.
So what about the kid, or the man, I guess, by the end? What does it say about him? Like, is there any escaping this?
It's a tough question. I mean, you could say the judge wins, right? He kills the man, destroys him.
Yeah, all that trying to escape, to make a new life, and it just ends in that outhouse.
But there's also, like, another way to look at it. The man, he never fully gives in,
Right, right. He keeps showing those moments of, what was it, mercy?
Yeah, mercy. And that's what the judge hates. It's like the man represents something the judge can't stand.
Like he's a threat just by being different.
Exactly. The judge can't control him, so he has to destroy him. Which, in a way, I guess means the man wins, too.
That's an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, it's like even in death, he's still resisting, showing that there's another way to be.
That even in this dark, brutal world, there's still hope.
Yeah, I think so. It's not easy, but it's there. And I think that's what McCarthy's trying to say. This violence, it's part of us, but it doesn't have to define us.
So, like, what's the big takeaway? The thing you want people to think about after reading this?
I think it's about, like, being aware of the darkness, of the violence that's out there, but also the good, and choosing what you want to be.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. It's not a happy story, but it makes you think.
That's for sure. It gets under your skin. And I think that's what good art should do. Make you think, make you feel.
Well, I think we covered a lot. It's a dense book, lots to unpack.
Definitely. I feel like we could talk about this one for, like, hours.
Yeah, maybe we should do a follow-up sometime. But for now, I think we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah, good idea.
So to everyone listening, if you haven't read Blood Meridian, well, be prepared. It's intense, but it's also like an incredible book. One of those books that stays with you.
Definitely. Go check it out and let us know what you think.
All right, that's it for our deep dive on Blood Meridian. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.